In today's video, we are going to be looking at the top 10 neighborhoods in Bluffton, South Carolina by sales volume. Now, I actually made this video about 2 or 3 years ago, and these neighborhoods have changed. So you're going to want to stay tuned if you want to learn everything about the top 10 neighborhoods in Bluffton, South Carolina. Let's get started. Do you want to know everything there is to know about the South Carolina Lowcountry, whether it's Bluffton, Beaufort, Hilton Head Island, or Jasper County? Then subscribe below and tap that bell for notifications so you'll be the first to know every time I put out a new video. My name is David Simcox, host of this channel and a local real estate agent. I get calls and emails every day from people just like you looking to make their move here, and I absolutely love it. So whether you're moving in 3 days, 3 months, or even 3 years, give me a call, send me an email, shoot me a text, or you can always book a Zoom call by going to lowcountrylifestylesteam.com. Now we're going to jump inside my computer. Okay, so we are inside my computer now, and the first neighborhood I want to talk about is Sun City. And Sun City Hilton Head is the largest neighborhood or community in the entire South Carolina Lowcountry. If I look on my map here, you'll see a lot of people are familiar with Hilton Head Island. They've heard of Hilton Head, and then it's one of the biggest tourist destinations. And you come across the bridge, and all of this area out here, this is all Bluffton. And you can see that Sun City Hilton Head represents probably 30% of the landmass and probably 30% of the real estate transactions in and around Bluffton, South Carolina. And this is all the active listings, and I've made a ton of videos on Sun City. So this isn't an all-inclusive video, but it's a 55 plus community. It's not actually in Hilton Head, even though they call it Sun City Hilton Head. It's out here in Bluffton. And it's divided into 4 sections. So you have this section down here, which is called the South section. That was the original section that they developed starting about 30 years ago. And then they moved over here to the North section. And then right now they're over here in what they call the West section. And the big claim to fame here in the West section is they just put in a brand new $60 million amenity center that has one of the largest swimming pools in the state of South Carolina, indoor and outdoor pickleball and tennis, dining facilities, outdoor amphitheater where they're going to have live music and entertainment overlooking a 7-acre lake. It is absolutely incredible, but doesn't matter what section of Sun City you live in. There's over $200 million worth of amenities throughout this entire community. So there's, I think, 8 swimming pools. Every swimming pool has a hot tub near it. There's 3 golf courses, multiple dining facilities, woodworking shop, over 200 clubs that you can be a member of. And on any given day, there's probably 20 to 30 things happening on the event calendar. So if you're looking for a 55 and better community with tons and tons of activities to do and, a huge social scene and a very wide price point, this is a really great neighborhood to look at. Now, let me just show you HOA fees. So the HOA fees are a little bit different depending on which section of the community you live in. So let's just pick one on the south side. And here you can see on the south side, your HOA dues annually are $2,820 per year. And the transfer fee, the one-time transfer fee, is going to be 2/3 of 1% plus a community enhancement fee of $3,500 plus a $300 administrative fee. Now, when we jump over to the north side, your HOA fees are going to go up just a little bit. Your HOA fees go up to $3,687 per year, but that's because they're doing the landscaping for you. On the south side, they don't do it. And your transfer fee is going to remain the same. Now, the only exception to this transfer fee rule is if you go over here to the west section. And the west section, if you buy new construction from Pulte is the builder, then you're going to be exempt from the transfer fee. Now, the only section I didn't mention is way over here on the river. This section right here is called River Bend. And Riverbend, these are the custom homes. These are not Pulte homes. These can be built by any custom home builder. And the cool thing over here is they actually have a dock right here on the Okeechobee River. So if you want to put in a kayak, or you want to go saltwater fishing, or you just want to go out and watch dolphins, or whatever you want to do, I think that's a really nice feature. But it doesn't matter where you live in the community, everybody has access to everything. And the other cool thing about Sun City is there are a ton of restaurants and shops around the perimeter of Sun City that you can get to by golf cart. So not only can you ride your golf cart all throughout Sun City, but you can also go outside to do your grocery shopping and dining out and go get ice cream or anything else that you want. So that is the largest neighborhood. Let's look at the stats real quick on Sun City, just to give you an idea of where we're at. All right, so we'll start out with median sales price here. This is over the past year. And so you'll see median sales price 478, 537, 499, 475. It got all the way up to 520 back here in September, down to 460, 500. I think it peaked out at 544, and April 2026 we're at 450. Homes for sale. There's always going to be a fair amount of inventory in Sun City because you have, 10,000 homes in there, basically. So the lowest was back in January 2025. There was 204 homes for sale. And then it kind of went up. It peaked back here in May of 25 at 255 homes for sale. Inventory kind of slid down a little bit, got all the way back down here in January of 2026 to 206 homes for sale. And then we bumped up in March to 225. And then last month we were at 221 homes for sale. All right, percentage of asking price. So just so you know, we're not in a market where everything is getting bid up over asking price and you're in a competitive bidding situation. It's a little bit more of a balanced market and perhaps even more of a buyer's market or starting to lean towards a buyer's market. So you can see back here in February, they were getting about 98.7% of the original asking price. Then it dipped down and it looks like as low as it got was 94.6% of the original asking price, bumped up to about 97%, and then finished last month at about 97.1% of asking price. So they're not giving them away, but there is a little bit of room for negotiation. And then days on market. So looks like the lowest was back in February of 2025. And we were at about 14 days on market average. And then it bumped up a little bit, as you can see here, and it peaked at 82 days on market back in October of 2025, dipped again, bumped back up to 74, and then we finished last month with 43 days on market. So again, this is just going to give you a little idea of how the market did in Sun City. So now let's jump into our next community. So the next community that we're going to talk about is Palmetto Bluff. And Palmetto Bluff is one of the most expensive communities in and around Bluffton, one of the most luxurious, but there's a few little caveats to it because it is a place where people live, but it's also a place where people vacation because you have the Montage Resort out on Palmetto Bluff property. And it's a little bit removed from Bluffton. So it's still considered Bluffton, but again, we go back, this is Hilton Head Island, and all of this is Bluffton right here. We looked just a minute ago over here at Sun City, but now we're looking at Palmetto Bluff. And Palmetto Bluff is kind of out here on its own. And once you come through the gate of Palmetto Bluff, you have to drive several miles just to get back to the guard gate. It's absolutely beautiful in there, and there are a ton of activities to do. There's multiple golf courses, there's a shooting range out there, there's an equestrian facility, there's tons of pools, there's inland waterways that you can take boats, there's docks, there's a marina, everything there is kind of a la carte. So there's a base price to get in, but then all the different clubs and activities each have their own sort of a la carte pricing. So if you want to get into the golf, they've got golf tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. They've got boating clubs, and within the boating club community, there's all these different tiers. They've got a ton of restaurants out there. They've got shopping. And even if you don't live in Palmetto Bluff, you can still go out there and kind of drive around and check stuff out and go shopping. And some of the restaurants are open to the general public, and some of them aren't open to the general public, only if you're staying at the resort or only if you live in there. But it's like a world unto itself. It's one of the most beautiful communities you are ever going to drive through. I think it's great. I've had some folks that have purchased in there. They absolutely love it. Other people have mixed feelings about sharing the community with the resort and, you know, basically having the tourist sort of aspect mixed in there. Some people just absolutely don't care. So just something to keep in mind. Let's look real quickly here. So the standard HOA fee here is only $5,886 per year. So very low. But keep in mind that there's all these a la carte options that you can add on to that annual fee. And if you want to learn more about that, I actually did make an entire video about all the Palmetto Bluff fees. So if you search this channel, you'll find that video, and it goes into extensive detail about the menu of options at Palmetto Bluff. The transfer fee right here looks like 1/4% of the purchase price is a community enhancement fee. I was told recently that they are temporarily waiving the transfer fee. So depending on when you watch this video, that could possibly go away temporarily. All right, let's look at some stats on this one. All right, so homes for sale. Let's start with this. It's a pretty big community. They are still building in there. So there are resales, and you can also build custom homes. There's a bunch of different builders working in there. But active listings back in February of 2025, we were at 41 active listings. Then it grew up to 66 active listings in April. Looks like it dipped a little bit, and then it peaked back here in October at 68 listings. And then it's kind of been on the decline the last few months with a little uptick back in March at 56. And then last month we were at 50. Price per square foot. I didn't mention this on Sun City, but I do want to mention it here because out of all the neighborhoods in and around Bluffton, Palmetto Bluff probably has the highest cost per square foot on average out of any community in the Lowcountry. And you can see over here in January, they were at $924 per square foot. And then it dipped down to $692, kind of up and down, $800, $635, $826, back down. And again, this probably is just, there's not a huge sample size. So statistically, the numbers are going up and down quite a bit because there's just not as many samples in our study here. But December back up to 868, a little dip, but it looks like we finished last month with the highest ever over the past year with an average cost per square foot of $946. Now, if you're coming from New York or California, that may not seem like a lot, but for our market, that's a pretty high number. Percentage of asking price. Again, we are not at or above asking price on any of these. So looks like 95%. Fast forward just a few months here, and we're all the way down. This is actually pretty surprising to me. Back in September of 2025, they dipped all the way down to 84.6%. So over a 15% discount on the prices. So they're having to kind of cut their prices to get these things sold. Now it looks like the market is picking up again. And as of last month, they're at 98.2% of the original asking price. Days on market. Usually the more expensive homes take longer to sell. That's not always the case, but you can see 102 days on market. We got down to 22 days on market back in April of 2025, a little uptick, downtick. Looks like the worst was back in October 2025, where we were at 138 days on market. And then it's been coming down, bumped up a little bit. As of last month, The average days on market is only 13. I think that's partially because we're in the spring season and everybody's in town and everybody's buying, so things are moving fairly quickly. But it's time to move on to the next neighborhood. All right, so now we are going to take a look at Berkeley Hall. Now, Berkeley Hall is located right here off of Highway 278, and I'll just zoom out just a tad so you can see. To get our bearings, we looked at Hilton Head Islands over here. Then we went over here to Sun City. That was this entire region right here. And then we went out here to Palmetto Bluff. And now we're back up here on Highway 278. And this is a private golf club, and the golf is mandatory. You don't have to play golf, but you have to pay for it. So we have several golf mandatory clubs in and around Bluffton, and then we have some golf optional clubs in and around Bluffton. So this is a golf mandatory club, and it's the newest out of the 3 that are on 278. And we're going to get to the other 2 later, but this one was developed most recently. And a couple things I love about this golf course or this club is this is a core golf course, meaning the golf course, and I'll show you here on the map, the golf course is in the center of the community right here, and all the homes and neighborhood wrap around the perimeter. And so while you're out playing golf, you don't have homes going down both sides of every single golf hole. And I think that makes it a really interesting and unique opportunity. Now, golf is not the only item on the menu at Berkeley Hall. You've got incredible wellness center with swimming pools. You've got restaurants. You've got amazing clubhouse with a veranda style restaurant overlooking the golf course. You've got a dock on the river for, if you want to go out on some of their river cruises, or you want to go out paddleboarding, or you want to go out kayaking. And it's just absolutely gorgeous in there. And out of the 3 private mandatory golf clubs on Highway 278, this is the smallest. And why that's important is because you have 2 golf courses at each one of those clubs, but this one only has a much smaller number of people living there. So it's a lot easier to get tee times. The pace of play is a little bit better, and the overall experience is just a little bit more intimate. All right, let's look at the HOA fees in here just to give you an idea. So the annual HOA fee is $28,104 per year as of right now. And the transfer fee, one-time transfer fee, is $125,000. Let's look at some of these price points. And I wish I would have done this on Palmetto Bluff. Maybe we'll go back, but you can see the price points vary. It looks like the lowest price point was at about 1.15 million. Actually, it got a little lower, but it trended up here as the year went on, and it peaked at $2.290 million. And then there was a sharp decline right here in October, and it went down to just over $1 million. And then we're trending up a little bit here and then flattened out a little bit, but we finished last month at $1.392 million. So looks like if you're anywhere between about $1 million and a little over $2 million, if that's your budget, this would be a good neighborhood to look at. Homes for sale. So there's always something for sale in there. And I always say, if you don't find what you're looking for on this trip, just stay in tune. Let me set you up on a property alert system, and something will come up that suits you. But these are all custom homes. And so 14 homes back in January of 2025, that looks like that was the lowest over the past year. And then we went up to 21 back in April, dipped down a little bit up and down, as you can see. And then it looks like we peaked back in December and January, where we had 24 homes on the market. And then as the market heated up, as we kind of started to go into the spring, the inventory has gone down a little bit. We're at 17 homes on the market as of last month. Price per square foot. Now, we were looking at Palmetto Bluff, and remember, Palmetto Bluff got all the way up to like $900 plus per square foot. These are all still custom homes and an extremely beautiful community, but your price per square foot is still fairly reasonable. So back here in February, they were at an average of $331 per square foot. And then in September of 2025, it got as high as an average of $574 per square foot, dropped dramatically. There must have been some kind of fire sale in there. I don't know what caused this. This might just be an anomaly here at 268, and back up to 509. And then we finished out last month with an average price per square foot of $402. Percentage of asking price, again, we are below 100% of asking price on all these, I believe. So 97%, the lowest we got down to was 82% of the original asking price, 82.5. And then we got back up to 99.7%. So they were getting almost full asking price back in January of 2026. And as of last month, they were back down to 91.3% of the original asking price. Days on market. So they are taking a little while to sell. So back in February, the average was only 7 days on the market. But then that started to trend up as the year went on. 94 days on market back in August. Sharp decline here. And then back in December of 2025, we were up to 152 days on market in Berkeley Hall. Sharp decline, and then finished out last month at 142 days on market. So that is Berkeley Hall, and now it's time to move on to our next community. All right, so now we're going to talk about a community called Hampton Hall. And Hampton Hall is a private golf club, but it's golf optional. So you don't have to buy into the golf course if you don't want to. And I think that's a really good option. I think you could still play a few rounds per year by paying the guest rate, but if you want to play throughout the week, quite a few times you're going to want to join the golf club, but you don't have to. So there's a lot of things to do in this community, even if you don't play golf. They have an amazing outdoor resort style pool. They've got an indoor lap pool. I love that because it's one of the few communities that if you love to swim, you can swim year round at the indoor pool. They've got playgrounds, they've got bocce ball, they've got tennis, they've got pickleball, they've got several restaurants inside the community. This is gated and it's right here in the heart of Bluffton. So again, zooming out, Hilton Head Island, we looked at Sun City, which was out here. We went down here, we looked at Palmetto Bluff, and we looked up here at Berkeley Hall, and now we're over here to Hampton Hall. And if you're coming from Old Town Bluffton, you can literally just take this Bluffton Parkway all the way along here, and it dead ends into Buckwalter Parkway. And this is where the gate's at, right here. And this is a guarded gate. And this right here is Hilton Head Christian Academy. So if you have kids who are going to be going to Hilton Head Christian Academy, this is literally right outside the gate. Absolutely gorgeous in here. Bigger lots, pretty good sized lots in here. And let's look at the HOA fees. So the base HOA fee without the golf club membership is going to be $5,970 per year. And the transfer fee is going to be this $36,493 plus a $500 document fee, whatever that is. So again, if you want to live in a private golf club, but you don't want to pay the $100,000 plus, and you don't want a transfer fee, and you don't want to pay the $20,000 to $30,000 annual fee, this is a really good option. Now, let's just look at the stats on this one. All right, so let's look at our sales price first. So you can see the sales price started pretty high up here. Median sales price back in January was $1.25 million. A little bit of up and down here. Looks like we got down to 917 back in June, back up to over $1 million, down to 785, back up to 1.2. Back down to 725 was the lowest that we've seen over the past year. And then as of last month, we're back up to 1.250. Now, I have seen these homes go as high as about $2 million, but you're kind of in that $800,000 to like $1.2 million range is kind of where you're at in this neighborhood. Homes for sale, again, always going to be something for sale in there. Looks like back in January, they were at 23 homes for sale. We bumped up to 27 in April. A little bit of a decline as we went through the year. All-time low for the year was only 17 homes on the market in this community. That was back in January of 2026. little bump up, little bump down. And then in April last month, we were at 18 homes on the market. Price per square foot, there are some that get down a little bit lower to $257 per square foot. Some get as high as $405 per square foot. So the point I'm trying to make is the homes are in the same ballpark as like Berkeley Hall as far as the price per square foot. And I think even the quality in a lot of cases. This was originally a Toll Brothers community, so there are some Toll Brothers homes, but there's also a lot of custom homes in there. So if you want a custom home and you want something that looks and feels like Berkeley Hall, but you don't want to pay those big HOA dues, this is another good option. Percentage of the original asking price. Now this surprises me. It looks like we were below 100% back in January. We were at 97.3%. But we had a situation back in July of 2025 where we got all the way up to 105% of the original asking price. So I was surprised to see that here. A little bit down. And then back in December of 2025, they got all the way down to 87.3% of the original asking price. And then we've been on an uphill tick since then. As of last month, we're at 97.7% of the original asking price. And days on market, it looks like the lowest it's been is back in January of 2025. And that was at 9 days on market and up to 129 days on market, down. And then you can see we trended up here. So it was taking quite a while to sell homes throughout kind of the fall and into the winter season. They were at 176 days on market. Peaked at 200 days on market. I know that's a little uncomfortable when you're a seller and you're having to sit around for 200 days waiting for this thing to sell. Back down, and then coming into the spring season, it's kind of started to go down. Right now we're at about 22 days on market, which is pretty good. Not too shabby. All right, so that is Hampton Hall, and now we're going to move on to our next community. So the next community we're talking about is called Belfair. Now, Belfair is also a private golf club, and it is golf mandatory, which means you are required to be part of the golf club. That's going to mean higher fees and a higher initiation fee. Now, this also has 2 golf courses within the community. It also has all the other world-class amenities. It's got the swimming pools, it's got the restaurants, it's got the wellness centers, it's got everything. The only thing it doesn't have is water access. There is no dock or no water access within this community. And it's a little bit bigger than Berkeley Hall, which we talked about just a little while earlier. So not that that's a bad thing, because that is going to allow more social connections, more clubs, more activities, maybe a little bit bigger social scene. But on the golf course, it's going to be just a tad bit more crowded and maybe just a tad bit harder to get the morning tee times that you want. But again, if you join some of the golf leagues, join the men's group or the ladies group, you're going to get those regular tee times, and that's not going to really be a problem. But just be aware of that, because it's bigger, it's going to be more people sharing the same 2 golf courses. It's right here in the center of Bluffton. And if I zoom out here, of course, this is Hilton Head Island. This is Sun City. This is Palmetto Bluff. We talked a little bit about Berkeley Hall, which was over here. And this is right about in the middle of Bluffton. And one of the things that I love about this community is when you pull in the front gate right here on Belfair Oaks Boulevard, when you pull in Belfair, they have what they call the Avenue of Oaks. And it's like half a mile long, and you're driving through these like 300-year-old oak trees that are absolutely gorgeous. And that alone has caused people to buy in this neighborhood. It's the most grand entrance I've ever seen in any community. The other thing I like about it is you can get to Old Town Bluffton on a golf cart from here. So you can leave the gate of Belfair and you can actually come down and you can hop into Old Town very easily. Very fun community. Let's look at the HOA fees. So your annual HOA fee is going to be $24,749 per year, and your transfer fee is $100,000. Now let's look at some of the stats in here. All right, so sales price. Looks like back in January, we were at a median sales price of 1.6 million and change. All-time high over the past year has been 1.8 million and change. And then a little bit of dip as we go through the year, down to a million here, back up to 1.5, down to 1.1, back up to 1.495. Looks like actually the lowest over the past year has been 825,000. And then as of last month, we're back up to about 1.3 million. So if you're shopping in that sort of $1 million to $2 million range, again, and you want to be in a golf mandatory club, this would be a great option. Homes for sale, usually there's pretty good inventory in here because it is a little bit bigger. So 23 homes for sale back in January, peaked out for the year in March at 33 homes for sale, all the way down to 20 homes for sale in August, back up to 24, back down to 20, 22, 21, and then last month, 22 homes for sale. Price per square foot, pretty comparable to what we saw in Berkeley Hall. So $379, $321, $423, down to $292, and then as of last month, $385. Percentage of asking price, again, we're below 100% all the way across the board the entire year. So 92%. Looks like we bottomed out in July at 78.6%, and then 78%. Yeah. So looks like they were steeply discounting them back in July and September. But as of last month, we're back up to 96.5%. Now, I wouldn't freak out over this because there could have been one or two sales that maybe it was an estate sale or something happened that kind of threw the numbers off. I think you're probably going to be in that 90 to 95% for the most part. Days on market, looks like January average was 1 day on market, but 81 days, 18, 75, 51, all the way up to 165 days on market in September. And then we dropped down to 52, 135, and then 46 days on market as of last month. Now it's time to move on to the next neighborhood. So the next neighborhood that we're going to talk about is called Oldfield. Now, Oldfield is a private golf club, but there's only one golf course, and the golf is optional. So again, this is very similar to like Hampton Hall, which we talked about, which only has one golf course and the golf is optional. Oldfield is the same way. Oldfield geographically is probably the most removed from downtown Bluffton. So if we zoom out here on the map, of course, Hilton Head Island, and we looked at Sun Cities over here, and we looked at Palmetto Bluffs over here, and then we looked at Berkeley Hall and Belfair. But this is kind of on the outskirts of Bluffton as you're starting to head over to Beaufort. But there's some things that I absolutely love about this community. It also has these gigantic oak trees draped in Spanish moss all throughout the entire community. And it's just oozing with Southern charm. And the architecture is very much like classic Lowcountry with lots of big front porches. And it has like the bridges, the arched wooden bridges going over the waterways. And it feels a lot like Palmetto Bluff, but on a smaller scale and more intimate. And of course, you don't have any of that tourist aspect to it. They also have, which I think is incredible, they do have an amazing fitness and wellness center, which they're just about to expand. They have 2 restaurants. One of them is at the golf clubhouse. Another one is down on the river, overlooking the river. It's absolutely gorgeous. They do have an equestrian center up front, which has horse barns and like a little petting zoo area with some potbelly pigs and chickens and goats and cool things, and then arenas for people to ride horses. But probably my favorite part of this whole community is right down here on the river. And this is the Outfitter Center. And they actually have 3 docks right here on the river. And they've got several captains that work full time for the community. And they take people out on fishing charters. and dolphin watching tours. And they have a full-time naturalist on staff that teaches people about the birds and the plants. And they have summer camps for kids where they take them out on the river and they teach them paddleboarding and kayaking. They also have a lot of group travel where people from the neighborhood get together and they go on international fishing trips down to Central America and South America. So it's very much an outdoorsman's paradise. They even have a reciprocal relationship with a hunt club where you can go do clay shooting and you can go on dove hunts. It's not too far away from the community. So if you love the outdoors and you love the Southern style architecture and you love big trees throughout the community and you want a golf optional neighborhood, this might be a good option. Now let's look at the fees here. All right, so the annual fee without the golf membership is $13,322 per year. And the transfer fee here is $45,000 for the club initiation fee, and then the OCA initiation fee is $20,000. So you're at $65,000 is your one-time fee to get into this neighborhood. Now let's look at the stats. All right, so your sales price back in January was about $785, sorry. Then we went all the way up to 1.59 million. Then we dropped down to 799, back up to 1.5, kind of up and down in that range. And as of last month, we finished with a median sales price of $1.2 million and change. Now, another reason for that is the reason you're seeing that variation. If we go back to the map, they have a couple of sections. And this section of the community over here, these are what we call like estate lots. They're bigger lots and bigger houses, and the houses have a bigger footprint. And most of them are custom homes. I think they're all custom homes actually. But then you have this section over here, which this is more like what they call the village section. And these are more like Charleston style houses. They're tall, skinny houses on smaller lots, and they feel like you're in a very walkable little village setting, but also the prices over there are a lot lower. So if you want to get in under $1 million, you're probably going to be over in the village section. And some of those are custom, but some of them are what I'd call luxury production builders. Like Stanley Martin did a lot of them, and they are a production builder, but they're a luxury production builder. So again, not quite custom, but just that's kind of why you're seeing that big variation in price. Now let's go back to homes for sale. We had 19 homes for sale back in January, got all the way down to only 11 homes for sale here in August, all the way down to 10 in December, and March 16, April 15. So again, there's always going to be a little bit of something. Price per square foot looks like $341 up to $441 and everything in between, but that's kind of your high and low. We finished with $431 per square foot as of last month. Percentage of ask price, again, we started close to 100% back in January at 99.4%, and then we got down to 91%. Looks like the lowest it's been this year was back in February, where we were at 84.4%, and then April 97.5% of the original asking price. And days on market, let's see how long they're taking to sell. 24 days in January. Looks like we got up to 100, peaked out at 122 days on market in October of 2025. Again, that's uncomfortable if you're a seller. And then we finished out April of 2026, 15 days on market. So not terrible. Now let's move on to our next neighborhood. So now we're going to talk about a neighborhood called Hampton Lake, and it's right next door to Hampton Hall. There's actually a little gate that connects the two of them. And originally Hampton Lake was going to be a golf course community, but they changed their mind and they actually made it into a lake community. So they dug out what was going to be the golf course. And if you look here on the map, you can see all these waterways, and there's about 7 miles of waterways that go out throughout the entire community. And a lot of these houses, if I zoom in, actually have their own private docks on the waterway. So you can have a pontoon boat or a little fishing boat, and you can go throughout the entire community in a boat. Now it is all no wake zone. This is not a lake where you'd go water skiing or tubing, but if you want to go out on like an evening champagne cruise or a morning coffee cruise, or you want to throw a line in and you want to do a little bit of fishing, or you can actually take your boat over to the Amenity Center, and that's right here. And they actually have their own marina at the Amenity Center. And they've got a fleet of boats that if you don't live on the water, you can actually rent one of their boats and you can go out for the afternoon, and it's fairly inexpensive. The other thing I love about this community is it has an incredible resort style pool here with a splash pad for little kids. It's got a lazy river that goes around here. It's got a waterfall. They've got white sand beach right here that if you want to lay out. They've got another swimming pool right here, which is called the Quiet Pool. Of course, you've got your tennis courts. And then inside this building right here, you have an absolutely incredible fitness center, which is one of my favorite fitness centers in all of the communities in and around the South Carolina Lowcountry. They have saunas in the changing rooms. They have their own spa within the fitness facility. So if you want to get a massage or any kind of beauty treatment, you can get that right here at your community. And then they also have another amenity center over here with a big lake they call Crystal Lake. They've got a swimming pool right here, another restaurant. I forgot to mention there's a restaurant over here at this amenity center called Backwater Bill's. And then by this swimming pool right here, they've got an outdoor restaurant, kind of bar and grill. And then you've got your pickleball courts here, a basketball court, you've got bocce ball, you've got a playground over here, and then you've got a big field, which they call an activity field or a sports field. And you can go out there and throw the Frisbee or, run or, throw the ball with your kid or whatever you want to do. And the other thing I love about this is it is also very centrally located, like right smack dab in the heart of Bluffton. Because it's not a golf course, the fees are very, very reasonable. The annual fee to live in this neighborhood is only $5,180 per year, and the transfer fee is $15,000. So again, the buy-in and the annual fee are very, very reasonable for our area. Now let's go ahead and jump in and look at some of the stats on Hampton Lake. So you can see the prices are ranging here in January, $930,000. They dip down to $789 in March, all the way up to $1.196 in July. Kind of a little bit of up and down from about 800,000 up to about 1.2 million. As of last month, 765. But I will say that I've seen homes go for as much as $2 million in this community. I think you need to be above 700,000 to get in, and anything, 700,000 to 1.3, 1.4, you're going to be getting a really, really nice house. Homes for sale, 22 homes for sale back in January, up to 32 in May, dipped down to 18 homes for sale in January of 2026. And as of last month, 31 homes for sale. So always something. Percentage of the asking price, so 96%, 93%, 97%. The lowest it got was 91.5%, 97%, and then we finished last month with 97.6% of the original asking price. Days on market, okay, so they got up there about midway through the year. So January of 2025, 34 days on market, got down to 18, back up to 187 days on market back in September of 2025. And then as of last month, we're at 51 days on market. So again, still pretty healthy. Now let's move on and look at the next neighborhood. So now we're going to be talking about the Colleton River Club. And the Colleton River Club is that third private golf mandatory club right here on Highway 278. So when we're talking about the private golf mandatory clubs, we talked about Berkeley Hall, which was the newest. Then we talked about Belfair, which was right in here, and that was a little bit older. Colleton River Club is the oldest of the three clubs. They were all developed by the same developer, and they basically went down the road. They did Colleton, then they did Belfair, then they did Berkeley. Colleton is amazing. It's a little bit like Palmetto Bluff in that you have to drive down the road. Once you go through the gate right here, you have to drive for a few miles before you get back to the main area of Colleton River. But again, it does have two golf courses. And the thing I like about it is both of the golf courses are different designers. So you've got a Jack Nicklaus and a Pete Dye course. So you've got a lot of variety in the way they look and the way they play. They also have water access. So they do have access on the river. They have amazing wellness facilities, your gyms, your classes. They have multiple restaurants. They have an amazing clubhouse. The locker room there is absolutely incredible. Like inside the men's golf locker room, they've got their own dining facilities. It's amazing. Let's look at the fees, because the fees in this one are actually higher than Berkeley and Belfair. So they're saying the initiation fee is $125,000, but I actually know, because I was just out there yesterday, they've raised it. It's actually $165,000 now. So it's the highest out of the three. And the annual is $31,542. They may have bumped that up a little bit too. I should have looked at that before I got on the camera with you today, but I know that the initiation fee went up. But let's look at the stats here. All right, so sales price. I think the sales prices in Colleton River tend to be higher as well. They're more expensive than Berkeley and Belfair. So we're at 1.3 in January, but you can see we got up to 2.8, 2.1, 2.755, and then we peaked out at 5.3 million. Again, that was probably a one-off sale. There was probably a really expensive listing that sold that month that brought the median price up quite a bit. Back down to 1.7, 2.5, and then as of last month, 1.8 million and change. But you can see just from looking at this graph that the median price points are higher. You're going to be at or above 2 million for the most part. Again, take that into consideration with your budget and what you're looking for. Homes for sale, 19 homes for sale in January, 25 homes for sale in April, 16 sales in August. It looks like as of last month, we're the lowest inventory out of the entire year. So only 13 homes for sale in April of 2026. Percentage of asking price, the entire year we've been below 100%. So 97% in January of 2025. The lowest, again, sometimes there's a weird sale that happens that throws these numbers off, but 81.3% in April of 2025. Across the board though, you're kind of ranging to that 92, 93, 94, 91% of the original asking price. As of last month, we're at 95.6%. 20 days on market in January. The longest was 329 days on market. But for the most part, you see 68, 52, 80, 43. We're kind of in that range. You know, they're not staying on the market forever. And then 13 days on market as of last month. Let's go ahead and move on to the next neighborhood. All right, so the next neighborhood we're going to talk about is called Rose Hill. And I am actually a big fan of Rose Hill. It is a golf course community, but it is a public golf course. So anybody can play there. And if you live in the neighborhood, you can still ride your golf cart to your own golf course. There is a fantastic restaurant within the community at the golf course. And it's actually on both sides of Highway 278. So it's kind of unique in that aspect. This side of Rose Hill right here is called the golf course side because the public golf course is over there. And then this side over here is called the equestrian side or the estate side. Those homes are bigger and more expensive on that side. The lots are much bigger, but there's also, like I mentioned, an equestrian center where they have horse barns and they actually have polo fields and they play polo matches out there. The other thing I absolutely love in this community is they've got this pavilion down on the river, and then they've got their own little dock, and then they've got a boat ramp right here where you can put your boat in, and they have boat storage over on the golf course side. So if you want a boat and you want access to the waterways, this is a really great option. Now they do have a couple of small little community pools throughout the neighborhood, The only thing they don't necessarily have in Rose Hill is they don't have a huge amenity center with like a huge resort style pool and a huge fitness center. It's just a couple of little pools and a couple of little tennis courts that are sort of spread out throughout the community. But you do get the dock, you do still get access to golf. And the other thing that people love about it is they didn't clear cut it. So there's all these beautiful, huge pine trees. And it reminds me a lot of some of the older neighborhoods on Hilton Head Island, where as you're driving through the neighborhood, you're under a canopy of trees the entire time. And it's one of the older neighborhoods in Bluffton, so the homes tend to be a little bit older also. They might need a little bit of remodeling, or the floor plans might be a little bit dated. There are a handful of new homes in here though, because some people did buy lots and they held on to them and they just recently built. So you can occasionally find a newer home in there. And the other thing that I absolutely love about Rose Hill is the fees are extremely affordable. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here. The annual dues to live in Rose Hill are only $3,150. You don't have this huge golf course fee. And then the transfer fee looks like you have an admin fee of $300 and $4,737 and a community enhancement fee of $1,737. So the buy-in and the annual fees are extremely reasonable. Now let's look at some stats on Rose Hill. All right, so the good news is the prices are more affordable. So you can see $670 in January, up to over $1 million in March, but we kind of hovered around, that 700,000, a little up to 800,000, a little below 700,000, back up to $1 million, back down to 585, back up to 927, and then last month 675. So if you're under $1 million and you want to live in a golf club community and you don't want to have to join a club to play at your own, because a lot of these other ones that we talked about, like Hampton Hall and Oldfield, they're golf optional clubs, but you can only play a few rounds by paying the guest rate, and after that you're done. So if you want to live in a golf course community, and you want to golf as much as you want or as little as you want, or you travel sometimes, or it's a second home, Rose Hill could be a really good option. And it has the boating option, which I think is huge, and low HOA dues. Homes for sale, 15 homes for sale in January. It looks like we peaked out in May at 26 homes for sale, 19, got down to 14 homes for sale in January of 2026. And then April, we're at 19. So pretty good supply. We're below 100%. It looks like in March of 2025, they were getting full asking price, but for the most part, you're below full asking price on these. Looks like we bottomed out at 86% of asking price, back up to 98%, 99%, back down to 88%, and then 95.5% of the original asking price as of last month. And then days on market, 7 days on market. We got up to 150 days on market in February, back down, and then back up to 168 days on market in November, all the way back down to 7 days on market in December, back up to 101, and then down to 14 days on market as of last month. So now let's move on to our final community. You ready? Our 10th and final neighborhood that we're talking about today is called Heritage at New Riverside. And out of all the neighborhoods in and around Bluffton, this is the best value, the lowest price out of everything we've looked at. And it also has the most amount of inventory. This is something that is affordable for most people. And they are still building in there. So it's being built by Smith Family Homes. And it's over here in the Pritchardville part of town. So all of this is Bluffton, but it's also the furthest community before you start heading over here to Savannah. So if you are working in Savannah and you need to commute to Savannah, this is going to be an extremely convenient neighborhood. You can literally be down having lunch on River Street in probably 25 minutes. And you can also get over here to downtown or Old Town Bluffton fairly quickly. Let's just look at the fees here, and you're going to be, if you're looking for something at a more affordable price, this one is going to excite you, I'm sure. The HOA fees are only $1,080 per year, and the transfer fee is only $750. I believe it's $750 or 0.25% of the sales price, whichever is greater. Look at these prices: $434,000, $420,000, $465,000, and as of last month, $424,700. So if you're looking for something around $400,000, just above, just below, this is a really, really good option. Now, it's not a gated community, but they do have some nice amenities out there. And if I go back to the map, I'll show you. So they do have a really nice swimming pool right here. And so there is things to do there, and it is convenient to get over to Savannah. Homes for sale: 18 homes for sale, 29 homes for sale, 17 homes for sale, 29, 21, 29. As of last month, there was 20 homes for sale, but they have resale homes in there. They also have quick move-in homes that are almost ready, and they also have the opportunity to pick your lot and pick your house and your floor plan and kind of go from there. And so again, just another option if you're, looking for something in Bluffton and, in the Bluffton School District at an affordable price and with a lot of inventory and a lot of houses to choose from. This is a really good option. Percentage of original asking price. You see they're at 100% up here. That probably is because of the new construction. We got down to 97%, 96%. 97%. So you're at about 96 to 100% of the original asking price. Not as much wiggle room in this price point. Days on market, 10 days on market. Looks like we got up to 124 days on market. And actually it looks like that is trending up lately. So might be a good opportunity to negotiate, because when you see homes sit on the market for a longer period of time, that usually is an opportunity to offer less money and get it for less than the asking price. So anyway, that is the top 10 neighborhoods in Bluffton, South Carolina for the past year, looking back at 2026 and the months before that. I hope you enjoyed that. And of course, if I can help you find your own low country lifestyle, give me a call, send me an email, shoot me a text, or you can always book a Zoom call by going to lowcountrylifestylesteam.com. And hope to see you on the next video, but hope to meet you in person at some point. Have a great day.